Welcome to User Training for the Cloud DPE Development Studio. This is Gene D'Angelo. For these training sessions, I am working on a client PC located in Southeast Florida, and I am signed on to a small server located in Plano, Texas. In this session, I will talk a little bit about tabs. Tabs are an important part of the DPE Development Studio interface. As you can see, the welcome screen is its own tab. We also have up here an import template, a script, and a couple of programs. Each of these tabs of this type have some options. One, you can close it, of course, but you can also create a horizontal or vertical tab group. So if we create a horizontal tab group with this program, you can see that now we're looking at one program down here and the other program up here. So we can look at the program side by side. Now on a high resolution screen, you can see a lot more. I've got my resolution set to very low so that it's more visible for training. But and you can also, for example, go further. You can also say, I want to make this a vertical tab group. So now we're dividing this into two parts. And maybe we could look at the import template alongside the program. And you can just keep doing this as you want to, creating vertical and horizontal tab groups within the other. In a high resolution screen, again, this can be very helpful to compare different things. So that is the idea with those kinds of tabs. There is another type of tab that we have, and that type of tab is associated with the Tables Explorer. Ordinarily, I keep my Tables Explorer over here with an auto hide, using an auto hide function. This is considered docked. And you can, with auto hide, when you click outside of it, it disappears. If I turn auto hide off, it will actually create its own separate area. Turn it back on, and now it hides whenever I click outside. But the Tables Explorer also can be its own tab document, so I can move it up here to be a tab document. And when it's a tab document, I have the same options I have with the scripts and the programs and the import templates. Oops, sorry, it's over here. However, I do have a couple of more options with the Tables Explorer. I can put it back to dockable, and I can also make it floating. So if I hit floating, it becomes its own screen, and now I can move it around, and it's on top all the time. So I can do things back in behind it without losing the Tables Explorer, without losing visibility of the Tables Explorer. So this is what's called floating. And you can, of course, you can move this to another screen. I've got another screen now, so you can have it over there for reference. So if you have multiple displays, you can have floating tabs that you can use for different purposes, so that you can have reference to the tables and so on. And the Tables Explorer in this case, but I'm also going to show you something about tables. So now I'm going to make this back as dockable, and also going to make it auto hide again. Now, and by the way, when it's like this, it remembers the width, so that if you change the width to small and you click outside and then you open it again, it will remember that width. So you can expand it to a width that's good for your purposes, and depending on how you've arranged your directory and your tables list and so on. But let's open up a table itself, and we'll notice that the table also has the same options the Tables Explorer has. It can be floating or dockable and so on. And we can actually make it floating. We don't have to click on this option. We can actually just pull it down. If we pull it down, it becomes its own window. So we can have several files open at one time. We could go now and open up over here. Again, forget it is always on top. So we could go over here and open up another table, and you can see it's behind it. And we can compare the tables. We could also move it over to another screen, and that way we could take advantage of multiple screen displays. So that's becomes a handy option for tables. Now, there's another type of, I'm just going to close this here, and I'll close this. There's another type of option you have with the job manager, and I'm going to go to the job manager here. Now the job manager normally will show you what's running on the server and who's running it and so on. Here there's nothing running on this server right now. But the job manager, I do have the similar options in terms of floating and auto hide and tab. So I could take it, I could take it, make it floating, and then I can move it to another display or keep it out to the side for reference purposes of if I need to monitor what's going on the server. And but if I make it, I can make it a tab document. Here I've done that. So you can make it a separate tab, just like any other tab. And if I make it dockable, it goes back down here, which is sort of the default location for the job manager. And of course, you can auto hide it just like the other ones, but it actually appears at the bottom. So the job manager has a number of options as well. Now, something else is sort of interesting. I'm gonna close the job manager. Actually, it just hides it when you close it. And I'm going to open up another seed here, or reopen the seed I had open, and point out that there are other things such as when you diagram a program, it also comes up as a tab, and you can as well make that floating. And when you make it floating, of course, then again, it can move it to another screen for reference purposes. But let's say you want to sort of go along and watch and follow the flow and look at your program at the same time, then you can do that. Of course, here we have it on top, and we can go from process to process and see what and reference the flow here and look at the code. So it becomes very useful there if you want to, if you're doing debugging or something like that. And again, this will of course move to another screen if we want to, so that we expand our visible area. So this is so the diagram is handy in that respect. The other thing that I should mention is if I go back to a table and I go to the view properties, which comes up as its own tab, and it also has the same kind of functions. So I can pull it down as a floating document and look at the table and the properties window at the same time on the same screen or a different screen. So as you can see, there's a lot of flexibility in the tab functionality, so that it enables you to be more productive in the work you're doing, so you can look at multiple things at one time. And it comes in very handy for development and for debugging and so on. So this concludes the review of the tab structure in DPE Development Studio.